Welcome to the Digital Dreaming off the Good On podcast. It has been a motherfucking minute. It is your host, Asif Ali, joined today by my co-host with the most, number 24 on this tour, back from Mexico, Cortez Branch Jr.
Oh,
Hey, talk to me,
yeah.
baby.
What's up, man? Hey, I'm letting you guys know I had a great time in Mexico. It was fantastic. I've really been enjoying my globetrotting ways this year, and I'm not giving this up for nobody. I'm having a good time.
Yes, sir. I think one of the things, like I said, we were talking about before, we started recording was, obviously, one of our co-hosts who should hopefully join soon, if not, whatever, Devon, who's obviously dominating. I mean, Team US International, right? That's the team, right? It's Team US
Yeah, Team
International.
USA International.
Team USA International has been having so many tours across the globe, right? I mean, it gets, obviously Mexico, Brazil, wherever, what have you. And obviously, like you said, you've been able to mix the leisure with the business and be able to, kind of spread the game. So
Yeah, yeah.
how has it been for you, kind of going across the borders and, being able to kind of still continue doing that, even at an advanced stage in your career?
It's been like reinvigorating. Like I don't think I felt this good in many years. Like when I say that I don't think I felt this good, like I don't wake up with the same type of pain that I was waking up with 2, 3 years ago.
Mm.
I don't wake up with the same like uneasy feeling in my stomach or in my heart like I was a couple of years ago. Like right now I'm probably feeling like I'm my best self that I've been in many, many years.
Absolutely. Speak of which, let's talk about some of that uncomfortableness or uncomfortable. I mean, we'll get into uncomfortable topics because I saw one of your comments on Instagram, which got over 1,500 likes about Russell Wilson and black
Oh
athletes, and
yeah, bro, it's over 2,000 now. It's
now it's
just
over
crazy.
2,000. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to address that right now, but because we have other
Oh, we
topics.
could definitely address that. Or I mean, we can wait until we
No,
start
no,
talking about more
no.
football. But
Let's unpack. Let's unpack it right now. Talk to me
okay,
about that perception, because that's something else with Justin Fields. I saw you comment, or actually, no, one of my teammates,
yeah, you
Hashim.
saw that one too.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's a, well, I mean,
yeah,
Justin Fields, in my opinion, though, I feel like it's a little different because Russell Wilson's tried, tested, proven. Justin has just been kind of a little incompetent but also the Bears' organization has been incompetent. You're a Bears fan, so you can talk about this better than I
Oh,
can. I
I
mean,
could. Oh
Justin Fields,
yeah.
yeah, 10-game losing streak, the longest of any Bears QB in the Super Bowl era. So I'm not going to talk about Justin Fields. I want to focus on Russell Wilson because the perception of the Black athletes. So talking about that. Kind of what is your take right now about Denver and how Sean Payne and Russell Wilson are interacting? What are you expecting for the
Well,
remainder of the
I
season?
I actually think that Denver will get it together, and it's not because like I'm a huge Denver fan, which because I'm not a huge Denver fan at all. I'm one of Denver's one of those teams where it's like, oh, I like them a little bit, but like not like, oh, they're my favorite team. No, like if they make it to the playoffs and I don't have anybody else to root for, yeah, I'm going for Denver. You know, I will say it this way: we have a ridiculous amount of pressure on us as athletes of color in general, not even just black athletes, but athletes of color in general have a tremendous amount of pressure on them to just be their best selves at all times. And you don't have room for anything. You can't party. You can't, I mean, if you dance, it's a problem. I mean, look, we had a president in this country, which is the United States, that wore a tan suit and everybody lost their minds over it. Like it was scandalous. And I was like, what's so scandalous about a tan suit? So if that doesn't show you that there is some undue attention that's being put on athletes and public figures as a whole, like I mean, you saw the post, man. I was getting attacked, but I was also getting defended. And it's like some of these people don't even know me. Like, and the thing about it is, it's like I'm a 5-time champion. I don't have anything to be upset about. I don't have anything to be hanging my head low. I don't have anything to cry about. I have none of that. Like if anything, my opponents should be the ones that are crying because they don't get to go home with the same hardware that I do. Like if a guy is sitting on his couch with 30 followers wants to attack me, in my opinion, and I'm like, dude, I got 5 championships. So it's like I got 5 championships. What you got, bro? Like let's compare which one do you like the most? Like what's your favorite? He can't do that. He's gonna be like, oh well, you suck. I'm gonna be like, I suck because I'm 35 and I'm not in the NFL anymore. No, I'm 35 years old. Name Name the number of 35-year running backs in the NFL. I bet you can count on less than one hand. Talk about the most disrespected position in professional football. You're gonna talk about the running back. Yeah, like, especially in the modern era, like they don't give a shit about us. It's pardon my French. Sorry, YouTube overlords. We didn't do that on purpose. But that's something that needs to be brought up. So yeah, if I do something that's a little bit weird, if they see me partying in Nashville with a bunch of chicks and I'm pouring drinks down their throats, that's gonna be on the headline of what something that I did wrong. Now, it might not be at a national scale the same way that Russell Wilson's is, but you guarantee that's gonna be getting talked about on social media. You guarantee that people are gonna bring it up. And that's just me. Imagine being Russell Wilson. You're married to a superstar, you are a superstar, you've gotten contracts in 2 different professional sports leagues to be a superstar, you're on commercials, you're on children's shirts, backpacks. Yeah, he wants to be perfect. And even if he looks like a goofball doing it, he wants to be perfect. And I don't blame him. He could be out of the league, like another 49ers quarterback that we all are very aware of that rubbed people the wrong way. Can't tell me that Colin's not better than what we've seen this year. You being a huge 49ers fan, I'm pretty sure you know that some of the stuff that we've seen is.
You know what's funny about that? You know what's funny about that? I know Devon's joining, but what's funny about that, kind of to tie that off, I actually was there for Collins last season in 2016. And I got to watch him and Blaine Gabbert kind of go back and forth. And I remember I was at Levi Stadium. I was just staying there observing, as any fan would. But then I just remember the chants when Blaine Gabbert against Cardinals was stinking it up, and then everyone was chanting, "We want Cap, we want Cap, we want Cap," and they were chanting that in light of knowledge of regarding. I mean, because at the end of the day, NFL is all about, can you produce or can you play, right? It has nothing to do with your political affiliation, your religious affiliation. All that stuff goes out the door.
Yeah.
Ultimately now, and obviously I appreciate the league taking a stronger stance on that, over the past couple of years. But I think, kind of to your point, I think with Russell Wilson and with the perception of black athletes and quarterbacks, and like I said, of people of color, and athletes of color, right? I think not just, it's all minorities. I think ultimately, there's always going to be a stigma just associated with them, and how they should kind of fit into a mold of how they should act and behave. And in order to break that mold, it's very difficult, and I mean, we can go, over time history. I'm reading a lot of books by Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell from the civil rights era, and how they had to be perceived back then, right? Versus
Yep.
kind of now. But I'm seeing a lot of parallels still. I mean, the
Well, it's an
perceptions,
old saying,
associate.
man. It's
Yeah.
the times might change, but like the stigmas don't. The
The,
people don't.
yeah, the stigmas absolutely do not change. And that's exactly why, I think that's kind of why, what you said, your point is very massive, because of the fact that, what we expect out of an athlete is not really how they should and can act. Because when we talk about it, it's an uncomfortable topic, but a lot of the issues we're seeing nowadays is due to the ethnicity and due to the skin color of certain athletes. And because of that, there's going to be certain associated stigmas and dogmas. And, I appreciate Pat McAfee and other co-hosts, with the complexion for, for the connection to some of those, other kind of, areas which we otherwise couldn't connect to. Just being candid and honest about it, about kind of their upbringings and kind of, how they perceive, other minorities, and kind of how that's still true to life. And Pat
I
McAfee.
appreciate Pat McAfee, and he's one of my favorite announcers slash podcasters. And I love how he goes into like 2 of my favorite sports. And I just got to say, we need Teddy Long to announce Pat McAfee the next time he does anything for his 5-minute white boy challenge.
Man, Rodney Mack,
If,
baby.
if
Guess the
anybody
show, shout out Big
remembers,
Rod.
Goldberg only took 26 seconds.
Goldberg didn't want to break the streak. He
I
didn't
know
want.
he
He didn't
didn't.
want. He didn't want to break the white boy challenge streak. He
He
didn't
didn't
want
want to
to.
break the white boy challenge streak.
He didn't want to.
No, he didn't. They made him break it.
They made him break it. Yeah, it's on record. You can Google it. It's
He thought it was the funniest thing. The 5-minute white boy challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who are not wrestling aficionados, I will give you a backstory, 30 seconds or less. The 5-minute white boy challenge was a prodigy for this guy. Was Roddy Mack, right?
Yep.
He
Yes, for the
was the
show.
wrestler who went out to fight anybody that would answer this open challenge. But the catch is you had to be a white boy. So it was white boy against white boy for this challenge. And Teddy Long, who was a longtime SmackDown general manager, who gave us famous phrases as, "It's going to be a tag team match, player. It's going to be you and your partner against The Undertaker, a partner of his choosing." So for those who like memes but didn't necessarily know where they came from, that's where it came from. So we need Pat McAfee to bring back the 5-minute white boy challenge because he's the only person in the company that could do it.
100%. And I appreciate our co-host Devon joining. Devon, fast to be late, but looking great as always. How you doing, brother?
That is Devon.
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for welcoming me in.
100%. Great to have you back on.
LeSure.
LeSure. Okay, let's get into just quickly
they calling
WWE.
This man
Talk
the
about
Redeemer. They calling this man the Redeemer now.
The Redeemer. we'll get Devon
a
a bit.
Nickname
Let's just
and everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, I want to get into the recent WWE bombshell news of the releases. Today WWE released, as part of major cuts, as part of the merger with Endeavor for UFC. They announced the release of several superstars, some of them namely being Dolph Ziggler, Shelton Benjamin, and Mustafa Ali. Who we praised on our show. Obviously, you went to high school with him, Cortez. So with that said, I mean, this is probably going to be wrapping up the wrestling segment. We'll have to save the rest of it for next time. But I'm just, I'm flabbergasted and shocked. And but I'm looking forward to seeing what these veterans do when they end up going to wherever they land next.
So you have the list available, right? Because
I do.
Need to look
Yep.
over the
Dolph
entire
Ziggler,
list.
Shelton Benjamin, Mustafa Ali. Oh man, sheesh. Let me keep going. Elias. Yep, Elias. Emma, Riddick Moss. Alia. Rick Boogs.
Rick Boogs got released?
Yep. And Top Dollar.
Wow. This is about as devastating as the first one from the pandemic.
Oh yeah. It's huge. God.
There's stars in that list.
Absolute bona fide stars.
Main eventers, Mustafa Ali, Rick
Dolph
Boogs
Ziggler.
has main evented, Dolph Ziggler has main evented, Shelton Benjamin has main evented. I mean, Top Dollar, they were just starting to come back up. So what are they going to do with that stable now? Is he going to go over there and be with in AEW and be with his boy over there?
Oh, I think so. Swerve. Yeah.
I would go be with Swerve.
Yeah.
Swerve was the original leader of the group.
He was.
Top Dollar didn't take over until Swerve was gone.
Exactly. I mean, Top Dog was struggling with the fans too, but yeah, like I said, it's devastating, and I really hope. I'm looking forward to seeing what Mustafa Ali does because if he goes to NJTV, APW, or AEW, ooh.
Well, they should have brought in, if they were going to have that stable, they should have brought in JTG because he's in great shape.
Yeah, JTG would have been great. So, but it is what it is. Okay, let's just get right into NFL. Week 3 matchups. Giants at 49ers, baby. We out here. So let's talk about this matchup. Daniel Jones is coming in, being blown out by the Cowboys, but winning against Arizona Cardinals, 30-28 in week 2. The 49ers are coming in. Brock Purdy is 2-0. He's now 6-0 on the regular season. And, he's a consecutive streak of 30-plus points per game for the 49ers offense. He's basically just made that offense click. And not to mention the defense, which has been equally dominant over the last couple of weeks. Minus the Rams game, I feel like, because of the fact the secondary was had and the D-line basically had an off game because Stafford was taking advantage of getting the ball out so quickly to basically avoid the pressure. So what are we looking for tonight against the 49ers and the Giants? I'm going to go start for you, Devon. What are you looking forward to tonight in tonight's Thursday night matchup?
Oh, the quarterback matchup. I'm unashamedly biased. I love watching the quarterback play. We spoke on it last time. I'm a huge fan of Brock Purdy still to this day.
Yeah.
Danny Dimes too. I appreciate what he's doing there in New York. I think I got San Francisco edging them out tonight though.
Edging them out or blowing them out? Because there's a difference.
I don't know. I think definitely New York is going to carry some momentum from that comeback win, and hopefully use that to their advantage. Momentum is huge in the NFL or just in football in general. And I think they're going to use that momentum from that comeback and come out with a lot more energy today and hopefully make it an interesting game.
Without Saquon Barkley, you still think that?
I mean, I hope so. You know what I'm saying? Like running back by committee usually in the NFL. Not saying that anybody's capable of matching Saquon Barkley. He's like the franchise there, but yeah, I mean, hopefully they get a passing game working and come out stronger today. I'm just hoping to see a good game tonight. I
You're
love
hoping is
Thursday
exactly,
night
yeah. No, I'm
matchups.
sure. The keyword is
Yeah,
hope.
hoping. Yeah.
Cortez, over to you. What are you expecting for tonight's game?
Look, I'm gonna tell you how this is gonna go. The Giants are gonna go out there. They're gonna rah-rah themselves, do it for Saquon and all of that, and they're gonna get beat by 35.
My man.
And you know what? And look, nothing against Danny boy, but you're not Eli Manning.
Mm-mm.
And you know what? You know what? I respect you, Daniel Jones, for being a quarterback in the National Football League of America. I respect you, but you know what? You ain't got enough firepower to deal with everything that San Francisco's got. They don't just have Christian McCaffrey. They don't just have Debo Samuel. They got everybody you want. They got the defense. They got the offense. They got the San Francisco beach. You know they got all, like, think about it. They got Rice Aroni. What what they bringing? What the Giants bringing besides already two gruesome mass injuries in their stadium.
Yes, sir.
Two gruesome injuries in their stadium. Ayahuasca couldn't even save Aaron Rodgers in that stadium. You know? I'm sorry. New York. Y'all, yeah. That's not gonna happen. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Alex Smith is not the quarterback. Brock Purdy is, and he's got all of the weapons on planet Earth. We know where those WMDs are. They have yellow cake, and it's in San Francisco.
Yes,
I
sir.
just saved y'all.
Yes,
I just
sir.
saved y'all some references right there.
Yes, sir. I love
Go
that.
back and watch.
Oh,
And I'm not being shy about it. Right now, Christian McCaffrey is playing like he's 22. And 22 and on all the HGH, all the peptides. He got a little bit of Barry Sanders kneecaps that he got running. He's running with right now. You can't really discount that. I know Carolina wish they would have never traded him. You can play like this. Why couldn't you play like that for us? I seen Christian McCaffrey launch a linebacker about 10 yards last week. And I was like, that was a Kamehameha wave. He just
powerbomb with a spoon. Yeah.
And then got up and he was like, hey, want to have dinner after this? Like, that's all I wanted to say. And the guy was like, yeah, sure, why not? You just carried me 10 yards. You might as well pick up the bill too.
And
I don't even know why you asked that question. San Francisco about to eat them boys alive. It's about to be 32-0 in the first quarter.
I just want to make sure that I got sensible minded football minds on the show, which I do. Now,
the only way the Giants have a chance in that game is if Brock Purdy somehow stays up all night partying with Johnny Manziel, and they do like 8 lines apiece, and also they drink like all of the tequila in Mexico, and then they forget how to play football. Like, man, what is this? What is this thing in my hands? Or that's about it. Or if one of them, like, let's say Brock Purdy like loses an eyeball in like an intense poker tournament, then maybe the Giants have a chance tonight. But if I was to put my chips anywhere, it's gonna be on the Deion Sanders and Shador. I mean, I'm kidding. It's gonna be on San Francisco this game, definitely.
We're gonna
Bro, I think Brock is 7-0.
He's 7, yeah, 7-0.
Yeah. I don't think has he lost a game ever. No,
He
right?
only
Not in
lost.
the regular season.
The only game he lost was the Philadelphia Eagles game, but he didn't finish that game. He was knocked
Didn't
out of that
even
game.
he got knocked out in the first
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah. So he did. Well, technically, he did finish the game, but he wasn't really playing
He
that
wasn't
game.
even
It
he wasn't
wasn't
even
his game.
he
Yeah.
wasn't even playing. He was just standing there because they didn't have anybody else. They were running wildcat offense. They were
Yeah.
literally direct snapping the ball to everybody but him.
Exactly. So I'm really excited for this. I mean, this is gonna be great to see kind of how, because I mean, Brock had some opportunities on Sunday, some overthrows and missed throws that could have been easy touchdowns. I believe he's coming in with the mindset to redeem himself. And I believe even without Brandon Ayuk, even though that's going to hurt, I think he's going to make use of, to your point, Cortez, the weapons of mass destruction with George Kittle, with Debo Samuel. I mean, just with that, I mean, with Christian McCaffrey, who's just a Swiss Army knife in every way imaginable. I mean, it's just, I mean, there's too much firepower, and I just think
Man, George Kittle been kind of quiet this year, though, man.
he's been quiet because they needed him to block for the run game for Christian
Yeah,
McCaffrey.
they've been doing even Debo hasn't put up like his staple game yet this year.
Yeah, because I feel like Brandon Ayuk has become such a focal point of the offense for Brock, and that's kind of where the ball's going,
I
right?
mean, I couldn't tell. It was 30 targets in one game wouldn't let me know that.
I'm just saying, but
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk is the reason why I'm not undefeated across all of my fantasy football because Brandon Ayuk decided that he wanted to go off for 700 points in one game. Thanks, Brock.
gotta
Just like
love it.
Brock Purdy coming in like Brock Lesnar, ruining my playoff chances at the beginning.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a good one for the Niners. I'm looking forward to it. So we're gonna run through Week 4 matchups real quick. So let's kind of go down the list. Falcons at Lions. Falcons obviously beat the Packers 25-24 in Week 2 at home. Lions lost a very, very controversial game against the Seattle Seahawks, 37-31 in overtime at Detroit. So who do you have and why? I'm gonna start off with Cortez for this one.
I'm going with Detroit. Detroit's due for one. Jared Goff's been having a solid year so far. The running backs in Detroit are great. And the division is wide open because everybody freaking lost last week. So Detroit has to win one. I don't really have any faith in Chicago winning anything just yet. And Green Bay, the only reason why they won anything is because Chicago is dysfunctional. But they didn't even play a great game. Chicago still scored a gang of points on them and almost had a comeback towards the end of the game. So I don't want to hear about how good Green Bay is. Y'all had a good opening week against a team that didn't know what they were trying to do. Detroit's the better team. Atlanta is Atlanta. Let's not forget that Atlanta is Atlanta. Y'all couldn't win in the Super Bowl when y'all were up by 30 points. Y'all don't talk to me about Atlanta. I don't want to ever hear about Atlanta football ever again, whether it be Georgia, whether it be Georgia Tech, whether it be Georgia State, Atlanta A&T, Tulane. I don't want to hear about any Atlanta football because y'all are garbage, okay? Point blank, Detroit by 13.
All righty. Devon, who you got?
I got Detroit too, man. As much as I love the Vikings and I don't want to see them run away with the division, non-biased pick, definitely Detroit. They got way more firepower there. They're clicking. Dan Campbell has got them boys ready to play football, man. I like Dan Campbell a lot, man. I think he's an awesome coach. He's great for that city. He fits Detroit, the mold there, the real like blue collar, gritty, like real just in your face kind of guys. I like Detroit.
I like Detroit too. I'm going to pick the Lions 34-28. Well, not sorry, 34-21. I just think the only reason why the Falcons won against the Green Bay was because of B. John Robinson and his 123 yards. And I think Desmond Ridder is still a young quarterback figuring it out. I think Arthur Smith made some very questionable play calls against that Green Bay game. They almost should have won by a larger margin. Going on the road against the Lions team, it's going to be the first game away from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I think they're going to struggle, and I think the Lions are going to take it. Next up, Chargers at Vikings. Devin, you talk about how you love the Vikings, so start for you for this pick. Who you got and why?
Man, we got to have a redeemer game here, man. I swear it was tough. We had back-to-back games. The NFL loves putting the Vikings in Philly for week 2 prime time. I don't know why. It's just every year, man. It seems like Vikings schedule week 2 prime time in Philadelphia always. But yeah, man, I like Justin Herbert a lot. Justin Air Bear, as me and my brother call him. But I really hope the Vikings get it. I think it's going to be a tough game, though. I think AFC West is probably the best division in football, if not one of the best. in football right now, and there's a lot of good teams there, and I think it's gonna be a tough matchup, man. It could be down to a coin flip in that one, but I got to stick with my hometown guys. I got to go with Minnesota.
All righty, 2-4. We got
What time does the game start?
the 10 a.m. Pacific, which means 1 p.m. Eastern.
I'm going with the Vikings. And I'm going with the Vikings because it's that 1 o'clock game. And if you look at Kirk Cousins' records at 1 o'clock games, I think you'll understand why.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I think it's a 7-point game, maybe even 6, maybe even a field goal at the end of the game. But I'm gonna go with the Vikings to edge out the Chargers just because they kind of haven't figured out their identity yet. And Justin Herbert, Justin Herbert, as we call him, as Devon has already said, he's gonna be a phenomenal talent. I still think he's about maybe 7 or 8 games away from his real like I'm him moment. And I don't think that's going to come at 1 p.m. against the Vikings. No, I think the Vikings have too much, and I think that by week 3 the Vikings have figured out what they want to do, and I think that the veteran in Kurt is gonna go and show himself, especially because it's a 1 o'clock game. He don't even have to miss night service at church for that one.
Two reasons I'll give it why the Vikings are going to win. We just came off a long week. We played on Thursday night last game, so we had a 10-day break in between this, and the West Coast teams don't travel that great for them 10 a.m. start games on their body clock, and that's harder to do.
100%. No, I'm gonna. Well, I actually picked the Chargers on the other podcast. Circle back to you, Victory Circle podcast. Jason Wilson, shout out Jay Will if you listen to this, but. I will not be surprised if the Vikings win this. I mean, I said on the podcast I wasn't confident in my pick. The only reason why I was picking them is because I thought they're 0-2. They lost a tough one against Tennessee. They got Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, them boys. Derwin James in the secondary. They also had Justin Herbert, but Austin Eckler being out is going to hurt a lot. But to your point, Devin, I think the Vikings on Thursday night, even though the Eagles are not looking like the same Eagles as last year, Kirk Cousins did put up 364 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. Justin Jefferson did have over 100 yards that game. I believe the other receiver, I forgot his name, he had 2 touchdowns in that game and 70 yards receiving. So they are still a very potent team when Kirk and to your point, Cortez, at 1 p.m., that's Kirk Cousins' primetime slot. In actual primetime moments, he's not that good. But with that said, I'm looking forward to, hoping to see him bounce back.
Kirk Cousins is a 1 o'clock quarterback, and if the Vikings make it to the Super Bowl, I hope that he campaigns to make the Super Bowl start at 1 p.m.
Well, yeah. Well, the only problem is that in order to get Super Bowl, he has to play games at 5 p.m. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
moving right along.
That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the problem.
So next up, Saints at Packers. I don't care. Texans at Jaguars. I don't care. All right, Broncos at Dolphins. We got Broncos at Miami. Russell Wilson hoping to bounce back with Sean Payton against Tua Tagovailoa and the AFC East leading the Miami Dolphins and Tyreek Hill. Who you guys got and why?
Early season, Miami has the best offense. They're the most ready to play football. Mm-hmm. They have the most to prove. They really do. I don't see Denver traveling all the way from the West Coast in the northern West Coast to the East Coast and participating in a game very well. I think that we're going to probably see like 225, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, maybe a fumble loss from Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos, and they'll probably lose the game. I want to say 21-35.
Yep. Devin?
I got Miami in this one, bro. I think Tyreek's gonna go off, honestly.
I'm with you, Cortez. I got 35-21 Miami. There's too much and to your point, Devin, there's too much potency on the offense, too much firepower.
Champ Bailey is not in Denver, so Tyreek's gonna have.
They got Pat Surtain's a solid cornerback, but he's still young, and I mean, Cheetah, he's just a monster, man. He's the best in the game right now.
He's gonna get in his head. He's gonna be down. He's gonna leak downfield. Let's just face facts here. Denver is not ready for this game, and Sean Payton ain't ready for this game. The game has changed since Sean Payton coached.
And what's their identity? What's the identity of Denver? I don't even know.
They don't have one. They don't have an identity. I watched the game where Russell led them on a comeback. He looked good. The problem is the team doesn't look good. And everyone's blaming Russell Wilson. But if you put up 31, 33 points as a quarterback, you should win the game. As a quarterback, if you put up over 30 points, you should win a professional football game. You should.
No,
You
and it's
know,
got to be demoralizing to have that Hail Mary at the end of the game and then not be able to convert that 2-point conversion. I think that was a crushing blow for Denver last week.
yeah, it was a good pass. It was a good throw. It was a good target. And then, like, you got to blame the NFL. Like, I'm going to go out and say it. I'm blaming the officiating on that play because if your hand is in my jersey, I should get a call for that.
Yeah. I mean that play as well. The Detroit Lions play on Aiden Hutchinson, the no call on the holding, when he was about to sack Geno, and Geno converts that 50 whatever plus yard bomb to Tyler Lockett to win the walk off to to win that game in overtime. I think those are things the leagues really have to look at. Obviously I understand officiators are human and that you don't want to remove the human element of the game, from the officials, right? But I mean, there's a lot that can definitely be corrected. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents. All right. Titans at Browns. Okay, I don't care about that. Bills at Commanders. Bills at Commanders. We got Josh Allen coming back after a monster blowout win against the Las Vegas Raiders, the Commanders, who beat the Denver Broncos that we just talked about in that overtime, 33-30. Who do you got and why?
Bills, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think the
Bills,
game's going to
easy.
be over in the second quarter. What do you?
Ooh, second quarter. Jeez.
I don't give Washington. I'm not. Washington needs to move. That's number one. They need to move out of there.
They need a new location. They need a new stadium. They need a new team name. They need a new roster.
That was the stupidest team name. Like, just throw the whole organization away.
Yeah. No,
they've had almost as many quarterbacks. Actually, they weren't even in the league as long because they were gone for a couple of years, and they've had just as many quarterbacks as the terrible Chicago Bears.
They have.
No, it was funny. I saw something the other day. It was like, this might be the saddest jersey collection ever. Yes. And it was just a bunch of Washington quarterbacks just down the line, and I was like, ooh.
There's like 45 jerseys. There's like 45 jerseys there, and what's upsetting about it, there are 45 jerseys that I saw play.
Exactly.
We're not talking about jerseys of the past, and like we're not going back to like Johnny Unitas. No, we're talking about since the year 2000. There's been like 40 quarterbacks for that team.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of instability, and I mean, Dan Snyder's selling team is one step in a positive direction. But
since you mentioned Washington, Robert Griffin III has entered the chat for throwing himself out there as to why he needs to be on a football team.
Oh, shameless plug.
Yeah.
You plugged yourself as a potential quarterback.
He said, yeah, there are guys like Colin Kaepernick, Robert Griffin III. And I'm looking like, aren't you Robert Griffin III?
Oh, man.
They don't want to bring us in because of the media circus. No, RG3. While you are a stellar athlete, you're very smart as a quarterback, you have glass knees.
Can we just cut out the Kaepernick talk? Like, that ship has sailed, man. Like, that is like 4 years old now.
Did he play 8 years ago?
Yeah.
Man, that ship is long gone.
What is he?
Stop
38?
throwing his name into stuff. He's not coming back to the NFL. He doesn't even want to play.
He doesn't want to play football
anymore.
He doesn't want to play football.
He's the quarterback version of destroying. Those guys don't want to play football. They know their name is more relevant if you just sprinkle it in once in a while, but they have no interest in playing football.
He got $100 million contract to not play football. And Nike gave him $100 million contract. Why would he ever play football again?
And I mean, I saw him in his last season. I was there for that Cardinals game, Thursday Night Football in 2016. His last season with the 49ers before his exit, obviously the crowd was one thing, but I think, to your point, Devin, I mean, yeah, it's been way too long. I mean, I think at this point it's not, yeah. And like you said, if the will was there, he would have taken Jay-Z's workout. He would have went to the same location. There was that collusion, quote unquote, contract dispute that he basically cited. But I mean, again, and this is 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, he was out of the league for 3 years. So, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I know what to say. What you
You
just
He
know,
said,
hasn't played a snap of actual football in 8 years.
yes. And
It's not happening.
Pat McAfee said it best on his show when I watched yesterday. He said if Colin Kaepernick is able to somehow come back, play for, so let's say the Jets or some other team that he's a quarterback, and he's able to be good, just be good, not even be like, Pro Bowl, but just be good. Then that is the greatest comeback in NFL history, because you see Deshaun Watson. That's why I didn't want to cover the Browns game. You saw how bad he played these last 2 weeks against the Steelers, and obviously week 1 the defense played great against Joe Burrow, but the Bengals are horrible, right? So Deshaun Watson.
I'm gonna give you a better example.
Go ahead.
Michael Bontavious Vick. That's not even his real middle name. That's MVP's middle name, but it's not even his real middle name. But it sounds better. Okay. Michael Vick was only out for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Vick went from being the most dynamic player in the game to being a third string quarterback who was able to only rebuild his career after sitting on the bench for 2 more years behind Donovan McNabb.
Yeah.
And he had what? A 4-year window of being good at that point. And that's because he also changed his game up. Michael Vick started throwing the football because he wasn't as fast as he used to be. He wasn't as shifty as he used to be. And I'll tell you from personal experience, you cannot sit out at the highest level for 3, 4, 5, 6 years to think you're going to just get up off the couch and play this sport. You can't. This ain't golf. This ain't golf. This ain't the NBA. This ain't the overseas basketball. There are certain skills that you may have and you may possess, but the speed and the strength and just the physicality of the game will beat you down. You're not 55. No. Go ahead, Devon. Go ahead. I'm not going to interrupt you.
And honestly, I think his platform is higher if he doesn't play football. If he comes back, plays football, and he's not good, that platform that he's built over the last 7, 8 years is greatly diminished.
Absolutely. I think, the Colin Black and White documentary was proof in the pudding on that. Obviously, the Colin Nike collaboration. I mean, there's too much evidence. And, obviously, Colin Kaepernick being who he is, I think he's also gained sports marketing for athletes, I think. Maybe not. Maybe my sources are wrong. But that's what I think I read somewhere. But, there's too many avenues he's pursuing. He's a businessman. He's not necessarily just an athlete. Colin Kaepernick is a businessman,
Let me run this down. Colin Kaepernick won the lawsuit against the San Francisco 49ers.
NFL.
The NFL.
The NFL was who he sued. 49ers was the team. Right. Yeah.
He won the lawsuit against the NFL.
Yeah.
He got the support of the NFL Players Association. He got the support of the NAACP and the International Black Caucus. Colin Kaepernick got Congress's support for his campaign against the NFL, and he won with undisclosed amount of money that they owe him for collusion against him and keeping him out of the NFL. Colin Kaepernick also got compensation in the form of a Nike contract that's usually reserved for active players. He got a $100 million contract with residuals, his own merchandising line, as well as his appearances. If you walk into a Finish Line, a Champ store, a Foot Locker, you're going to see a poster hanging of Colin Kaepernick with a Nike logo on it because that's part of his contract and his deal. You're going to see retro jerseys being sold, and which the 49ers can profit off of it, and so can the NFL. But Colin Kaepernick gets a huge chunk of those jersey sales that they're still selling today. Colin Kaepernick has no motivation at all to be a football player, but he has every motivation to continue being a disenfranchised football player. Shifting gears to destroying, because Devon brought him up. Destroying found out firsthand just the other day why he doesn't want to play football. He got trucked by a walking running back who's retired. And they damn near had to call an ambulance for this man. That wasn't acting. He was hurt. He probably ain't felt that type of punishment in the seven or so years since he's laced up his actual cleats to actually play football and not model some teams' jersey. Destroying, I don't know if you're watching this, but I said this to you on your own profile, and I said this to you when you came to Chicago, when you did that one-on-one thing in Chicago. I'm going to say it again. If you really wanted to play football, you would. the Dallas Renegades or the Arlington Renegades gave you an opportunity to come to their facility and try out for their team. You chose to put on a jersey, walk out in the field, shake hands with The Rock, and make videos about your experience. You hung out with your professional football kicker friend who plays the same position as you, which I don't get to do that. So you got to do that. You know, most of my professional friends, they make sure I get it how I live. And I think we all can attest to that. You know, you got the royal treatment picked up in a Rolls Royce Phantom, if I'm not mistaken, to go out there and do that and get treated and be on the sidelines for the college games, the NFL games, mic'd up with the ESPN, mic'd up with NFL on NBC, mic'd up for Sunday Night Football. You are as close to being an NFL player as anyone on this planet has ever been without ever actually going to a combine, without ever actually playing and getting recruited. You are as close as can be. You have millions of followers on YouTube, and your thing that you do is $10,000 1v1 tournaments in somebody's backyard park at every state that you choose to visit. You're not doing it at the colleges. You're not doing it at the high schools. You're doing it at parks, and you're doing it at public recreation places or fields without goalposts or soccer fields and stuff like that. And I got to say, you don't want to play football. Stop pretending like you want to play football. Stop putting on shoulder pads. Stop putting on gloves and a helmet. How many helmets you got? 300? 400? Not a scratch on them. Not a scuff, not a mark. The only decals you got on them are the ones you put on there for the pictures. And you know what? It's a disgrace to those people who play football because they love playing the sport. Is it making you money? Yeah. Are you successful? Yeah. But guess what, bro? I don't care because once again, I got things that you will never have unless you buy them. I won these. That makes me a more successful football player than you. Keep your money because I'll be there too. I'll be there too. When I get there, and you say anything to me, I'm gonna open face slap you with all of them on.
Yeah, 2-4. Okay, let's run down these lists real quick because we got wrap it up.
It ain't jealousy. It ain't jealousy, bro. It's not jealousy. It's we have pretenders in the sport distracting away from legitimate football being played, from legitimate competition that's being played all over the earth, but people want to watch destroying. Man, screw that.
100%. I'm going to run through the rest of the matchups. Colts and Ravens. Ravens by 1 million. Jets, Patriots. Patriots are 14-0. That's going to continue. Seahawks, Panthers. Seahawks by 27. Chiefs, Bears. Chiefs by 5,000. Cardinals, Cowboys. Cowboys by 100. Raiders, Steelers. Okay, Raiders, Steelers. Who we got at Las Vegas?
I got the Raiders, man.
Yeah, I got the Raiders, but the Steelers deep. Actually, no, I got the. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I went quiet for a second. It was funny. We all sat there and pondered.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm gonna go with Las Vegas.
Yeah, I go Las Vegas. I'm gonna go. With, I mean, they're at home, but the Steelers. I picked the Steelers on the Victory Circle podcast, so I'm gonna stick with that. Eagles at Buccaneers. I picked the Buccaneers because I think Baker Mayfield is having a career resurgence here. The Eagles have looked very suspect. Their secondaries look very suspect, and the Buccaneers have obviously looked a lot better than expected.
Ali,
those are the two.
I've been flying that flag my whole life, bro. That Buccaneer Raider flag, I've been flying that my whole life. And let me tell you something. They about to get their ass blown out. And I'm not about to be look, Baker Mayfield, I like you, Baker Mayfield, but you know what? You still Baker Mayfield. And I've been watching you too. And let me tell you, they about to go down there. They're gonna have Warren Sapp down there. He's gonna be in his Colorado uniform because he's trying to become a coach. He's gonna be out there, whoa, and then they about to go out there and get their ass kicked. Because you know what? Baker Mayfield is not Tom Brady. And I just gotta keep it 100. Like it's gonna be a decent game, but they about to get their ass beat, bro.
Those are the Vikings' two opponents. They're the Vikings' two losses, and I think the Eagles are a much better team watching them.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts is what?
Yeah. I'm gonna challenge that. The Eagles have not looked that good this year. I mean, the D line was the strength of last year. They had 70 sacks last year on that defensive line, the third most in NFL history. I'm not seeing that pressure up front. And
they have not looked as good. But you know what? They still 2-0, and they still are better than what Tampa Bay has to offer.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Tampa Bay is bad. I'm not saying that at all. They almost got beat by the Bears, bro. Come on. They almost got beat by the Bears. And the
No,
Bears
like I
don't.
said, those are the Vikings' two losses this year, the Eagles and the Buccaneers. And from what I watched, I think the Eagles are a much better team than Tampa Bay. I think the Vikings should have got that game week 1, and then we had a quick turnaround against the Eagles, and the Eagles I thought looked pretty good.
The Eagles
Tampa
look good.
Bay.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is deceptive. They're a team that is nowhere near as good as they were 2 years ago or even last year, and they're a team that's going to win some games. I see Tampa Bay as being at best 10-7.
Okay.
That's
I
better.
think
That's better than I see them.
I see, because think about it, they almost lost against the Vikings. They almost lost against the Bears, who are super dysfunctional right now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like they barely skate. Like the score is not always because the Bears were down 3 points when that interception for that pick six happened.
Yep.
On that miscommunication play.
Yep.
If it wasn't for them being down, if it wasn't for that pick six, and in a short field with the miscommunication on that play, let's say Justin Fields was in a football playing mood, because obviously he doesn't feel like playing football right now. Let's say that he was in a football playing mood. If he's the guy that was sliding around on the turf last year, then the Buccaneers lose that game easily. I didn't watch Justin Fields take off to actually run the ball for most of the game. And I think everybody else was waiting for that too. What he had, 54 rushing yards? Like, he could have had way more. There's literal drawings. And me and Devon were talking about this earlier, of Justin Fields just looking like I'm in space and I don't care.
Oh man, Dan Orlovsky, the way he breaks down quarterback play is mint.
Yeah.
I love the way he breaks that down. He really goes through all the angles, shows you what the quarterback should be seeing, what he should be doing. And it's like Justin Fields just freezes, because I'm seeing plays out there. I'm seeing plays out there in practice. That's exactly what you want to happen on a seam route, right over top of the linebacker, underneath the safety. You got to hit that window, and he's cocking to fire it, but he doesn't let it go, and then he takes a sack. I don't understand it. He doesn't even have pressure in his face. I could understand if there was pressure in his face, you might be a little timid to make that throw, step into that throw, but there's not. He's got open lanes to throw, open windows to throw, and he's just not making the throws.
Do you have the fact that even Chase Claypool's playing football again? I was surprised that Chase Claypool's actually going to play football this year. Chase Claypool's playing football. He's blocking downfield. Yeah, he got called for it, but let's face the facts here. How often do you get called for that? Rarely ever. Rarely ever. And you guys have played receiver a lot more than I have. You guys know, both of y'all know, you don't get called for blocking downfield that often as a receiver. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna let that shit go, because it doesn't truly affect the play. You know, you're blocking downfield for a running back. Like, oh, come on, be serious. Who cares? You know, that's usually what happens. They usually let that go, especially if you didn't do anything like no illegal hands to the face, no holding, nothing like that. They hardly ever throw that flag. So I don't know if Justin got caught up on that flag before the interception, because that was a very nice play on all ends. A very nice throw, very nice catch, very nice run, very nice blocking from Chase Claypool, who hasn't gotten a lot of targets this year. And I really can't blame them for not giving Chase that many targets, because let's face the facts. He dropped a lot of passes last year, but back to the question that you asked, I think that Philadelphia, if everything goes right for Tampa Bay, it's a close game, and it'll come down to who has the last possession. If everything doesn't go right for Tampa Bay and Philadelphia is average Philadelphia, they win the game by 10.
Okay. Last Rams Bengals. I'm gonna pick the Rams. I'm not gonna talk anymore because we have to wrap up this episode. But thank you to both my co-hosts, Cortez Branch, number 24, Devon LeSure, item 9. And we're gonna be back on next week. Thank you all for tuning in.